on here, we're going to take a look at pivots. Let's see if I can find a pretty chart. It's not a pretty chart. Let's find a ASML. It's a big company. There we go. Is that a pretty chart? Well, it's not so bad. Okay, what we can see here is on this chart are what I call min-3 pivots. Just basically minimum of 3 days in between a high and a low. Very simple, very straightforward pivot formula. That's all this really is, and the reason I use this one is I use it to 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 help me find pivot number 2. That's all, because it'll automatically spit out stocks that are presently at pivot 2 if I ask it to. Anyway, just if you notice, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 days, and here there's a whole bunch more. But in between each high and low pivot, there's at least 3 days, 3 bars, right? Okay, and so these are considered min or minor pivots, and I call them min threes. Now, this is a daily chart, and in the days of old, what I would do is I would in commodities, I would use this pivot formula that was called min 3 GH. And what min 3 GH is very simply a formula that says, well, if you have a gap, you count that as 2 days or 2 bars, and if you have a holiday, that's counted as 1. And this is how on some charts which had holidays in there, I would handle holidays and things. In stocks, I generally used min 3 pivots when I was using a min pivot formula, and in futures I would typically in stocks I would use min 5s, and in futures I would use min 3 GH. But if you take a look here, here we go. Okay, definition of a major. Now a major, here's an M, which is a major. Here's another M, and down here is another M. Okay, and a definition of a major is simply 2 or more pivots in between of the required variety. So for example, on this chart, this one here, whoops, can I get this over here? This computer program is horrible. Won't do a thing. Okay, this low here is a little bit, let's see, what's the low here at? This low is at 4,200, and this low is at, there we go, 4196. So this low is a little bit lower than this one, and because of that, this low here, because of that, this is not a min 3 pivot. If this was a little bit lower, either equal to or lower than this one here, then we could say there are at least 3 bars in between a high and a low, and there'd be another pivot over here. Because once again here we have 1, 2, 3, right? So this is an example of how I would count pivots when I initially got into this stuff, and I did that for years. I used that simple formula for years, and what I found was that while it worked most of the time, it really wasn't good enough. That what I've communicated in another video is really in the initial videos to you guys is really much more appropriate, even though it seems a little more general. It really is. Let's see another day. Let's find another one. We just did Best Buy. Let's do another one. BlackRock. Ooh, well, China Green. Yeah, China Green. CGA. Okay, here we go. Nice example. You can see here that here we have a low major, and we have at least 2 pivots going up to the next high major. Here we have a low, and then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so prices keep on. Here's a high major, and down here's a low major. Okay, and that's how we work when I work with min3 pivots. So what I do is I have this computer program that, and I just tell it to go back in time, go take a look at the end of the day and find me all the possible pivot 2s. And here's a pivot 2. Okay, and but it could still go lower. It's a possible pivot 2. So what I would do is I would then apply the course methods and ask whether or not the this one here is highly probable to be a pivot 2. And I would do that by looking at what happened here, what happened here, what happened here, and what happened over here. And if the market behaved properly at these points here, this would then give me a higher probability that this is a pivot 2. So let's see if I can find another one that's a pretty chart. Let's see. Here's one. Okay. Here's this is DHI, DR Horton. Okay, so this one here is the major low, and this one here is a major high. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, and we went up for a 1 and down for some kind of a 2, and here we are. So this is a major pivot down here, and this is a major one here, and that's because in between them there are at least 2 other pivots. Okay, simple as that. Anyway, I thank you for your time, and see you next time.